When it's really dead at work, that's a bonus for Quinn McFarland, the main character of Bad Blood Sisters. This is the newest novel from award-winning and best-selling author, Saralyn Richard. Welcome, Saralyn.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be with you, Sharon.
Well, I am thrilled that I got to read this book before its actual release date, which will be March 9th. It is fantastic, and I kind of just want to jump in and start talking about it. So your main character, Quinn McFarland, works at a funeral home. So what was your inspiration for this?
Well, I'm a mystery writer, and when I'm doing research for my books, I often talk to people who work in funeral homes because I have characters who die and have funerals. And so it's kind of pertinent to some of my previous books. And I've always been struck with the attitudes that people who work in death services have. Their attitudes, not just about death, but their attitudes toward life. And one of the people, for example, told me that after she finishes working on a body, she goes outside and the world looks different to her, that being alive feels different to her, and that's part of the joy of her work. And I was always struck by that and kind of fascinated, because most people don't want to talk about funeral homes or even talk about death. And for the people who work in this area, it's just a matter of fact part of life. So that's what intrigued me, and that's why I set the book with a character who works in a funeral home.
Well, and it's not just her, it's her whole family. And that really, what you just said makes a whole lot of sense, because that whole family is just, they're so caring and so alive and so just wonderful, basically. All right, so kind of leading into my next question, there's a whole lot of gallows humor in this. It's like, how's work, dead? So does that come naturally to you, or is that just something that you found with the funeral home people that you've spoken with? How did that come about?
Well, I like to write with humor, but I did find that the people I've spoken with have a great sense of humor about death. And maybe it's just a coping mechanism because other people view their work as so gruesome. And so they make jokes about it. And the jokes are a way of comic relief, really, to kind of keep the job light, to keep it ordinary, and keep it from going into the morbid or the macabre. So I loved peppering the story with the, as you call it, gallows humor. I think that I like to read books that have wit and charm in them. And so I like to write books that way too. And all of my mysteries are kind of humor tinged.
That's lovely. Actually, yeah, that's one of my favorite things is when I find an author who can be in these really dark and you take Quinn to some very, very dark, disturbing places. But there's still just that little bit of humor and lightness to it. It's just it is a gift. So tell me about the Gulf Coast of Texas, because this takes place and it is steamy and hot and humid, and it really does make the setting, when Quinn is upset, it's claustrophobic. When she's not upset, she notices different things.
This is my first book that is set on the Gulf Coast, even though I was born and raised here and I live here now. And so it's a setting that I'm very familiar with. I think that most of the time it's paradise. I love all the things that you can smell and see and feel, all the textures, the atmosphere. The winter time, it's absolute delight. When all of my friends are complaining about snow and ice, I'm like, okay, it's 80 degrees here and the flowers are blooming and birds are singing. So in the summertime, it can be oppressive and steamy, as you say. And this book is set in the summertime. It's in July, so it's the real heat of the summer.
Yeah.
But if you think back to some of the movies like Body Heat and In the Heat of the Night, those are mysteries that are atmospheric, and the weather and the town contributes a lot to that atmosphere. So sometimes the Gulf Coast can be soothing and calm and have these lovely breezes, and sometimes they can be really suffocating. So I tried to portray that.
Yeah, it worked really well. And another setting question, she's in a very small town. And so, her dad knows everybody and everybody knows her and everybody remembers who she dated in high school. So have you ever experienced small town life like that? Or is just this something that you did a lot of research on?
Mm-hmm. No, I live in a small town. It is an island on the Gulf. And so I didn't have to do a lot of research except go outside my door
and say hi to your neighbors because they know you.
And take note. And living in a small town can be just absolutely wonderful because everyone does know you. They know your parents, they know your grandparents, they know your history. They're familiar, they're friends, everybody's friendly, things are casual, and it's comfortable. You're in a comfortable place. And Quinn gets the benefit of that. Like, she at one point seeks the help of a lawyer, and she's able to find the perfect lawyer because of her family and her family situation, and she knows him and his family, and so it's all very nice. But there are some very oppressive things that happen because it's a small town and everybody knows each other's business.
Yeah.
There's really a lack of privacy, and that plays into the mystery as well.
Yeah, it's really kind of just beautifully woven together, that whole atmosphere. All right, so Quinn has a West Highland Terrier, and I know you have Nana, your big old English sheepdog. So have you ever had a Westie?
Yes, I have, and his name was Calvin, just like Quinn's dog.
Just like Quinn's.
My very first book was Nana, my sheepdog, was the narrator of the book. The book is called Naughty Nana. And after that, a lot of people said to me, well, what about your other dog? Because I have a Bichon named Archie, and he wasn't in a book. So I put Archie in A Murder of Principle, which was my most recent book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was writing this book, and I thought, okay, well, I'll use Calvin. Calvin would be a good pet for Quinn. And Calvin was my Westie. He is my longest lived dog. He lived until he was 14.
Wow.
And he was exactly like he acts in the story, peppy and bouncy and very affectionate, very smart. And he's the perfect little sidekick for Quinn.
Oh yeah, he's just wonderful, and I love that like the neighbors know him, and yeah, he's so cute.
He also gets her into some situations that I needed to get her into because he needed a walk.
Yeah, he has to go out.
So while she's walking him, there are some tense situations that how would I have gotten her out of the house for those things to happen if she didn't have a pet?
Yeah, yeah, he's a good little plot device. Plus, he's adorable, and I can picture all of it so well, which is why I've got so many questions about the setting. Is because just as I was reading, it just like the streets just unfolded, and I saw everything, and especially Calvin in my mind, he is so cute. And I love his reactions.
Sharon, you're a dream reader. You really are.
I think most of that credit has to go to you, but so your bio mentions that your mysteries are romance tinged, and I was completely invested in Quinn's bow. And in fact, at one point, I'm like, just drop that stupid thing and go over to his house. And I was like, she better, yeah. So it was really, really nicely, again, just woven in with everything else that she was doing. And it doesn't take a lot of page space. So I'm wondering, do you just ever write straight romance?
I don't. I don't, because mystery is my genre. I really love mystery because I like the puzzle of it. I like the intellectual puzzle. I like the emotional puzzle. And I like to figure those out. But I also feel that romance and love are part of every mystery. I mean, love can be emotive. It can be evidence. I mean, love is in almost any relationship to some degree. Even hate is a form of love. It's like an extension of love. So it's not very hard to weave love into, or romance into, a mystery novel. Because it's part of life. I mean, it's part of what people do and have in their lives. And in this particular book, Quinn's relationship with her boyfriend, Josh, is not central.
No.
It's not central to the theme of the book, but it's also important.
It makes her more real. It makes the town more real. It's like he could not be there and the plot would be the plot. But I think there are just some things that he adds that makes Quinn more Quinn, for lack of a better way of saying that.
Quinn is in search of her identity. She has suppressed the past and a previous betrayal, and she's really trying to find herself.
Yeah.
And Josh is a part of that, but he's not the main part of it. She's on a journey apart from him.
Yeah. Actually, the very first thing I tried to write was a romance, but I started killing people, and I realized, you know what, my genre may be mystery.
Right.
Just made me move that direction. So I'm glad you're writing mysteries, because that's also what I like to read. Okay, so my last question for you is what can we expect next? You have such a broad, from Naughty Nana to Bad Blood Sisters and everything in between. We've got a lot of different things going on. So what can we expect next?
Well, I'm in the process of writing another mystery that will be released in August.
Oh,
and
wow.
I have, my first mystery was part of the Detective Parrot mystery series. So that was Murder in the 1%, and it was followed by A Palette for Love and Murder. And people keep asking me, when are we going to have another Parrot book? So Parrot's in works, and the next book is going to be called Crystal Blue Murder. And it starts off with a meth lab explosion.
That's fantastic.
So that's what's coming next, and I'm working hard on it right now.
Excellent. Oh, that is something to look forward to. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for meeting with me, and thank you everybody who is out there watching. Thank you for being here at Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks so much. Go Blackbirds.
Go Blackbirds.